Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freebird Spirit YouTube channel. Thank you for swinging by and joining us in today's conversation. This actually is our 15th conversation and discussion, Wisdom Behind Awakenings. And a few weeks ago, we had a couple discussions ago, we had a visit from Harvey Milk. And in that discussion, I believe he made it clear that he was going to join us in a couple more times. And so today, when we were preparing for this, just coming in preparing for this discussion, I thought, oh, you know what, we should start today off by talking to somebody in our history, bring them forward and see where the discussion goes, how they want to direct it. That would be interesting and different discussion, right? And so when I tapped in, Harvey came right in. And so it makes sense since he said he was going to be here for 3. And Harvey came in and he brought me the name Goldstein. And I asked you, Chrys, I said, Chrys, do you know if Harvey worked with someone named Goldstein, or what's that name and I think he said it's not ringing a bell. So of course I Googled it, and it took me to an article and that was written in 2020, and Rob Goldstein. So we knew we were in the right spot at that point. So I spin down a little bit here and I come to a quote of Harvey Milk's, and Harvey's still here, and he's still here right now. But he was still here when we were first kind of discussing this. And I read this quote from Harvey Milk. And I believe this was 1972-ish, right? Or in the 70s. And he says, Jews know we can't allow discrimination. If for no other reason, then we might be on that list someday. And then, of course, I freaked out. And I knew why he directed us here. If you only come to these discussions, then you wouldn't know this. But a couple weeks ago, while I was doing a live stream, I was asked a question in regards to Texas and Abbott, and I forget the other person's name.
Ken
what's his name?
Ken Paxton.
Paxton. Yeah, Abbott and Paxton. That they had begun keeping record of people who are transitioning or register as transgender, where they change their male, right?
Going after their driver's license and other department records, public records, where someone will change their sex on their driver's license from male to female. Okay. So it's going after the public records of that kind of change.
Right. And keeping that list.
Yeah.
And so I feel Harvey wants us to talk about this.
Now there's another piece to this,
okay,
which is he's also wanting a registry of the families whose children are claiming to be trans, and he's trying to get that. And what's the thing? There was something about I'm trying to remember now. There's something about it's not just they're gonna have to ask permission. They're gonna be watched. And okay, Texas parents of transgender children investigated by the state. They've already targeted children and parents. The next step would be targeting adults, and the best way, better way than what better way than seeing what adults had their sex change on their driver's licenses. Yeah, so It's really about people's rights to be who they are.
Exactly. So here we are. And again, when this came to my attention during a live show a few weeks ago, I was just out of my mind. I just could not. And I was trying to warn. That warning came in. The red flag came in. When I stepped into the energy of Abbott and Paxton and the whole group of whatever behind them, I was sick. I can't even believe I could go on with the show I was in. I was just, I wanted people to understand how dangerous this danger, and how extreme, and that we need to be wary. And so if you can do this to one group, if you can discriminate against one group, then like that's just the beginning. And the fact that it's actually come out into the open is even worse, and people are okay with it. That's even worse. What does this remind you of? And I kept trying to bring that to light. And I think at the time I was trying not to be like alarmist and go, okay, I kept saying, does this remind, but I never said, I don't know that I said, okay, this is the Holocaust, because I also want to honor the over 6 million Jews and people who were murdered at that time.
Not just Jews, they went after all.
I know. So right. That's what I want to say. So they started with a list there. So you had to register as a Jew, right? And then all of a sudden they were going after if you're a person of color. They were also going after if you were gay, lesbian, the whole thing. If that all became on that list. So yeah, they're starting here on here, and the only reason I'm still like out of my mind with this is that it's come up again in some of the live chats. And so I've been able to talk a little bit more about it, and people are starting to understand, okay, so this is, they're starting to see what I was seeing a few weeks ago when it first came out. And then for Harvey to bring it up today. So I think it's important for us to look at today. For Harvey to say, and I'm going to say it again, his quote, and Harvey was Jewish himself, for those of you who don't know Harvey. And he says, and I quote, "Jews know we can't allow discrimination. If for no other reason, then we might be on that list someday." The list is here, guys. The list is here, and people are on the list. And Chrys, you brought in with this as well some lists that I was unaware of that were being kept. Other types of like I think you were talking about back in the 70s where you had to.
Well, it's a big topic.
It is a big topic.
And it's important to understand that we're not talking about trans people. We are talking about how power asserts itself. And what you're making reference to are Nazis. And that mindset, that belief system, that ideology is now circulating in American society. My dad flew bombers to stop that violence against people that were in concentration camps and so on, to stop Hitler. People are now feeling freer. Kanye West can put up a Nazi flag on Twitter, even though people condemned him, he put it up.
Yeah.
So, and some people are saying, Hitler had the right idea. So well, I have to give credit to Manfred Stanley, excuse me, who was my theory professor in graduate school, and he and his mother were survivors of Nazi Germany. She helped to rescue a whole bunch of people from concentration camps before they escaped and made their way to the US. She was an actress, and she was even on This Is Your Life. When she got here, she started a radio program, and the radio program's message was, it can happen here. None of us wanted to hear it. In the 80s, people would say that to me. I'd say, oh, no way. That was before.
So pause. So this was in the 80s.
No, that was when I said it. This was not
Okay.
that.
Okay.
When I had the feminist bookstore in 1975, my mail was opened, my phones were tapped, and the FBI would come and sit in the store. Okay. Then I went to the Women in Print Conference in Omaha, Nebraska in 1975. So in Omaha, Nebraska, there were women there from all over, everywhere. Women, and I've talked about this before, distributing companies, publishing companies, music companies, people who are writing, creating journals, lots of feminist stuff, right? Women taking control. They had to get people to stand guard because the FBI kept coming in and trying to sabotage or be part of it. These were the Nixon years, and they were very much about trying to stop people. Now, it just wasn't just feminists. They were actually murdering African Americans who were civil rights activists. They were one man who's still in prison, Native American, Leonard Peltier. They accused him of being a murderer, and he wasn't. He's still in prison, and that was in the 70s. So they were doing this sort of stuff. But when we would go to do peace protests, because remember, it's Vietnam, and 1968 was a nightmare in the U.S. society. So we would go to protest. They would show up and write our license plate numbers down. They would track us. So that wasn't a foreign concept. It wasn't foreign to them, and it wasn't foreign to those of us who were fighting for civil and human rights. So
isn't this the era of Big Brother, and when that all started coming out?
1984, the book.
The 1984
became very popular, and that's Manfred Stanley was also one of the ones who wrote about that. One of the essays that he wrote, and his son is a very famous philosopher now, Jason Stanley, writes for various newspapers, but what he did was he did an essay that is by far the best essay I have ever seen. And I have said this for decades. He did an essay where he showed how people like Himmler and other major Nazis were writing love letters to their children or their wives or whatever, while they were condemning tens of thousands of people to death. They were doing both. And so he read that out loud to us in class, and I burst into tears when he was done. And afterwards, he called me in his office and he gave me his mom's book, which is also astounding. But it was a real lesson that fascism is alive and well in the world. And if you don't know what fascism is, you should read about it, because that's what we're talking about. Because Nazism was fascism. And what they essentially did was to decide there was a particular group that was okay, and everybody else was not. And you're watching that same stuff right now. So when you see AOC go on TikTok and do her piece, which was brilliant. And anyone listening, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch, because it was absolutely off the charts. Fantastic. But with clips of people saying the most horrible things, just horrible. But the piece about with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying trans people are trying to change you, change your children. No, they're not. There is absolutely zero evidence of something like that. Zero. Without question, there is not any effort like that. None. In fact, these are mostly people trying to live their lives at peace with who they are. That's it. That's all. And what this whole Trump era has brought in is permission to just lie. Fox News, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, they're going to just, I mean, they documented at one point how many lies Trump had told, and now we don't keep track of it anymore because it just is, right? But they were up to 50,000 when they really stopped doing all that.
Yep.
And now everybody says, oh, everybody knows he lies, but he's still in the mix, and they're still covering him on the media. So, so where you went was, and I want to say this about you and about other people doing similar work, which is that you've been doing a service for the larger community for a long time. And in that service, you receive messages from the chat. Could you please answer this question? How many times have you had to answer the same questions about the same horrific details, about the same people, about people getting away with shit over and over and over again? So it's not an accident that when you see the list, it's like a tipping point, right? You're like, wait a minute. Now, it also made me realize why we have these conversations and we tape them. Because when you answer those questions, you don't get a chance to process.
No.
So when you and I talk, we're actually taking some of those very questions and the almost like sound bites that go with them, but you know what you're channeling in, and we get to process it and we get to sort it and give it a base, you know, not just answering a question. It's really about let's dig deeper, let's go deeper. And I think what we're both doing with this is inviting people to go deeper, go a lot deeper, study your history. You know, it's astounding what's been silenced, and it's astounding what's been left out. What happened?
Robin Williams just popped in.
Yes, because he is one. He's one of the people. He's also an activist. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's Jewish. Yes.
So there's a lot of people here, we have a lot of people here in regards to this discussion and wanting to bring, but in Harvey, of course, Harvey Milk came in right away, but we have, I'm only remembering first names here. So, but Marcia P.
Would you say Robertson or something?
Robertson, and Sylvia, they are here. We have Harvey, we have Robin Williams who popped in. And he's just in regards to humans and love. And it's almost like we can't be silent anymore.
Right.
And he's standing there, he has tears coming down. He's just bringing in what his human emotion would be in regards to this. He's also showing me scenes of when he played something. He played a part.
Which one?
Anyways, he's dressed as a woman in this part.
Tootsie.
Tootsie?
Oh, not Tootsie. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay. So he's showing me that. But also his connection, there's a deeper connection that we don't know. That's very interesting. But we are all one, he said, and he's saying we are all one. When you he said, Mrs. Doubtfire was a part of me that I shared to the world. Um, we have multi parts to each of you. You are multi parted or whatever. He says, when you look at when you look at another human being, they are you. And when you grasp that knowledge, when you grasp that, he says, when you truly, truly look at another human being and say, that is me, I am you, you are me, then you just want to embrace or support this person. You're more likely to be in service for that person when you truly connect as one and acknowledging I am you, you are me. I am bringing that in, he says, because you want to have the tools to help one another truly see them as you and you as them.
You know, I'm really okay with that position. I mean, I totally am there. But here's my question, and it's a question for the viewers too.
But I can ask Robin Williams while you're asking that.
How do I feel about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
And it's funny that you said that, because he was showing me when he was showing me I am you, you are me, he kept showing me Lauren Boebert. And so it's not a mistake. He's laughing. It's not a mistake you're asking that, because I am her and she is me. How can I be of service to her? And you know, all the emotions we feel when we see Marjorie Taylor Greene or the Boeberts or these people, these just horrible acting people. And how do we look at them and say, I am them and they are me? Acknowledging that you are both having he says, acknowledging that you're both having this human experience but the tuning is different, so you're absolutely not on the same radio station. And I'm only can go by my dictionary, so but allowing them, so acknowledging that, and how can you be in service? Well, allowing them their own radios. You do your radio station as long as it's not hurting other people, right? Because those other people that you're hurting are also me, right? So how do you be in service? Staying in that place of just understanding and love. It doesn't mean you have to like them at all or invite them to your party. None of that, none of what is being said here means that. But when you bring that understanding in, you can be a better service in being that human to human to each person. So they're just not part of we each have our story going, we each have a storyline. And they're having their story. They might not be in your book. Like, I'm looking down at my book. She's not in my book, storybook, because it's not the same storyline. She has her own storyline, and honoring that storyline. And okay. sorry for the pause, just because Robin Williams' energy is so loving.
Mhm.
He has this unique understanding of people's shadows and difficulties.
Mhm.
He says, truly, truly, it's about learning to love each other. And it doesn't mean you have to invite them in your home. But if you bring that ultimate understanding that we're having a human experience here, it will help you. It helps you stay out of the energy of hate. So if someone is coming at you with hate, if you respond with hate, where does that get you?
Mhm.
In regards to the list, he says this is a moment in time. This train needs to be stopped. He's going like this, and he's showing me everyone, all these people, hundreds of people. We are all concerned. We are all putting love energy into this. And but they all are coming in saying this is an important point in history right now. This is an important point in history. It must be taken serious. Do not let history repeat itself at any level. Do better. Uh, I feel this is Marcia coming forward, and she's saying it is not time to be silent. I'm being pointed to another quote of Harvey's in here. So I'm going to go ahead and look here. I don't know that this was oh, we will not win our rights by staying quietly in our closets. So this is Marcia was pointing towards Harvey's quote here. We will not win our rights by staying quietly in our closets. We are coming out to fight the lies, the myths, the distortions. We are coming out to tell the truth. I am tired of the conspiracy of silence. So I'm going to talk about it, and I want you to talk about it. You must come out. So basically, we can't stay quiet. Another quote that I'm being pointed to here, again, Harvey. It's not my victory. It's yours. It's yours and yours. If a gay can win, it means there is hope, and that the system can work for all minorities if we fight. We've given them hope. So he's talking about when he won the seat on the Board of Supervisors in 1977 there. But again, that quote is relevant. The victory for the LGBTQIA plus community here, for equal rights, for human rights, for Black Lives Matter, for the indigenous voice and rights, for all of these, we fight. For all of these, we don't remain silent. But believe me when I say, this is Harvey, believe me when I say, this list, do not shut your eyes to this. Do not shut your ears to hearing this. It is the beginning of something bad. So. Chrys, do you have any questions for any of this crowd? Any of this crowd here?
Are you kidding? Yeah, you know, Harvey was a contemporary of mine. You know, I mean, this is, you know, what you're quoting. We heard when you said it. You know, we read it when he said it, wrote it, and when he was interviewed, and it's really, really, really important. And the thing he's making visible is the piece about who's going to be on the list, right? To not get caught in that trap that this is going to be somebody else's problem because you're not gay. This is a marker of the way that fascism or right-wing people create fear and distress, and they start, and what they're doing, which is really hideous, is that they're trying to use the law and find its gaps. They're trying to find where they can, you know, like it's against the law to violate somebody's right to privacy. That was established by the Supreme Court back in the 70s or 80s, and that ushered in the gay rights movement in a bigger way. But what's come out is that what he's figured out is that he can make a list. He's not violating privacy because the list is coming from public documents. So what they're doing, and they did this around reproductive rights, right? They were doing the same thing around abortion. They're doing the same thing, doing the same thing around civil rights. They're going to find the loopholes in the public records. They're going to find the loopholes and they're going to push them and try and push us way back to where we were. And so the alarm that you're raising and that Harvey's raising is really about what we learned from World War II, and about the danger of fascism unchecked, where people are asleep. And part of the reason that people are asleep is because they're carving out issues they think are minority issues, okay? They're carving out issues in a way where 1 week it's all about gays or trans, right? The next week it's all about abortion. The next week it's all about immigration. You know, they've picked their issues. They have no platform. That's really important. Okay. They have no platform. Mm-hmm. They are running for office. They have zero platform. The only thing they're running on is fear and discrimination. That's what they're running on. They're not saying we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. They're actually also going after old people because they want to eliminate Social Security, things that we've paid for, right? So you have to look at the whole picture, not one piece. Where Harvey's important is that he's making it visible that you have to open your mouth, but you have to see that this list could be you tomorrow. And, you know, if we don't stand up for each other, and of course, then there's the famous Pastor Niemöller quote, first they came for this group, then they came for that group. Then they came through their group. And when they finally came, there was no one left. And I didn't do anything. That I don't have the quote off the top of my head, but that's the general message. And that's the work. That's the work. It's not the first time we visited this. It's not the first time. It's not the last time it's going to be there. It's going to require that we make visible the ways in which this group is doing its stuff, is laying its stuff out.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams bringing the material through about we are all one. I know that you and I both believe that, right? I know that we both practice that. And I know that we each have our moments where we catch ourselves and correct it back and lead with love, right? But where we get the lesson, the challenge is when you watch Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody else, and we hear this vile, horrible stuff, and the media covers it.
Yeah.
If the media didn't cover it, it wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right? And they wouldn't be able to pull the stunts they're pulling, right? And when I do a little shout out to my oldest heart daughter who covered the whole story about the list for the Washington Post and what she made visible in that list, and who she interviewed and what they said. So it is in the Washington Post. It was published not long ago, last week. December 14th, the day before she had a baby.
Yep.
So yes, so that's there for anybody who wants to see it, and we can put the link up on the site.
Okay.
But again, I think the conversation that's happening is one about the general. What does it mean to be one, and what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be in service to each other? What does it mean to love? These are the bigger issues, and we get caught. We get caught in our passion about, what we've always known about you, righteous indignation, right? Right. So, that was, by the way, a message that came through about Debbie. Anyway, but yeah, the hardest part is the balance. When do we speak up and when do we stay quiet? And when do we love and when do we say, wow, I'm challenged right now? How can I say MTG is, we're all one. But I did say this recently, which is the way they talk about immigration. I'll say it again. I know I said it on this channel before. We created immigration. We did. You mentioned earlier about Mississippi. You were talking about things in Mississippi. I was reading today that in Mississippi, the oldest civilization they've been able to excavate, 4,000 years old, indigenous community, is in Mississippi. And so I was reading about that and saying to myself, when we start to look at the lives of indigenous people, and I said, who did I say this to today? I was talking to, I had them out. Anyway, we were talking and I said to her, after all I've been reading about the communities that were in place, the people who were in place on this land before the Europeans arrived, how did they manage to imagine, I think I'll just take your stuff. I think I'll just take yours because I like yours. Yours is good. I'm going to take it now. And I can do it because my God says to do it. Okay? Not any different than what we're doing right now.
Oh, yeah.
Not any different. And so it's the way in which colonialism, genocide, all of those things play a part in our everyday vocabulary, in our everyday lives. So we end up saying these immigrants, these, that, the other thing. The Southwest was totally the property of Mexico, and it was ancient property that belonged to their ancestors. Why wouldn't they come across the border? That's one. Two is we've created an advanced capitalist society that depends on the poor labor of people in those countries to give us the products we're buying right now for Christmas. So when you talk about immigration, Robin Williams is absolutely right. We're one. You have created that problem. Ted Cruz has created that problem just as much as anybody else has. So they can criticize, but they are the ones. We are all one, and they've helped create it. They're not owning their responsibility to it. They're not doing anything about it. And that's the voice we have to use. That's the passion we have to express. No, it matters nothing to anybody else what I wear. It's just cloth. It's just cloth. Everything you're talking about, whether somebody decides to cross-dress or change their body is their own, and it's just freaking cloth. What is this about? It's just cloth. Listen to the fervor around a man who puts on a woman's hat. Well, on Halloween, my dad did it all the time. I mean, right? So we've got our little brackets. And I used to say this when I taught gender. We say men aren't affectionate. Well, they sure are if you follow the football players after their practice down Main Street where they're hugging and patting each other's butts. Those are the spaces we say, oh, that's okay. But this is no. My body is my body. It's not yours, and it's not yours to do anything with, and I get to make my own choices. And then add to that if I want to wear something, it's mine to wear. It's just freaking cloth, and we've made it into something that's a big freaking deal, right? But it's not. I want to also say that it's not an accident that a few years ago, before all this got to be so pitched, data came out showing that whites would no longer be the majority by 2040, right? 2050. That's when all this pitched up. These are people who are just like the Europeans who came and took the lands, who are saying, wait a minute, this is mine. I'm in charge. This is my money. And I love it whenever Kim says, I don't get it. How many bedrooms do you need?
Yeah.
How many kitchens do you need? I mean, okay, how much property do you need? I mean, once you get past 1 million, I mean, isn't that enough? It's like, okay, but what we're doing is hoarding. It's not an accident that this hoarder shows on cable,
Right.
there and go, oh, isn't that disgusting? Isn't that disgusting? Walk into the rest of your house. We're hoarding everything. I'm hoarding my privilege. I'm hoarding what it means to be white and privileged and in charge, and it's not just white, because what they're basically saying is you have to be white, anti-immigrant, anti-gay, anti-trans, anti-abortion, and rich.
Yeah.
So anybody else coming in?
Well, they're just applauding. They're clapping. Okay, anybody else coming in with this? I don't know who this is. Alcott.
What?
I'm getting
Louisa?
Alcott.
Alcott? She's an author.
Okay. Louise
Alcott.
Alcott. Louise. There's another name in there. Louise.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's coming in. I feel like she's just talking about how people they follow the stories,
Mhm.
and what's comfortable for them, they will continue to nurture that story in their life.
Mhm.
But it's at the it's at the peril of being open to other stories and growth and life, because you're so focused on this one story that's comfortable to you.
Mhm.
And then it becomes the story of you. And that's it. It's important to be open to others' stories, inviting those stories into your life, experiencing others' stories. Go ahead and take your head out of that storybook that you've read over and over and over and over again for the last 50 years. And that's the only story. It's not the only story. Make sure that people know that there's other stories that are real and living and breathing, and they are beautiful.
She wrote Little Women.
Okay, so that sounds familiar. I love that Little Woman.
Mhm.
And I'm like, but I didn't know who wrote it. I'm so bad with names, you guys. Even historical names. Okay. But I do love Little Woman. She's smiling. Okay.
Well, that's an example of what you're describing, because there's a story that she crafted, right?
Yeah.
But it's made its way through generations. People still hold on to it. They still make movies of it.
Okay. Yep.
They hold the story like this is
Oh,
the
yeah.
story, right?
Yeah.
But even as she's saying that, the characters in her book had their own stories. They were very different from each other. They had conflict. They did all that stuff, right? So that's what she's. That's
Okay.
what
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Let go of that story.
Louise May.
May.
That's the
May.
other.
May.
Yeah.
Louise May. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, and she's just saying, she's looking at you and she's just saying, it's just cloth.
Yes.
Um, it's just a story. How do you want to make your story today? How do you want to change your story? Is there something you want to change in your own story moving forward?
Are you asking me the question, or is she asking it generally?
She's just speaking that out. I don't think it's to you directly. I think it's to everybody.
I think the real story is what you. I mean, we say this every single time, but I think we still don't have it. And Robin Williams said it too. The story is really when have you been able to love unconditionally? And how do you go about loving unconditionally? And how do you get to a place where we're one? That's the story. All the
Yeah.
stories should revolve around that.
So how do you change your current, speaking to everyone, her question to everyone is, how do you change your story to fit
Yes.
this new narrative coming in that is full of love and inclusion and oneness and wholeness, really. Uh, okay. Um, You know, I'm being reminded by someone, someone in the group here. I'm being reminded that we have such amazing help at our voice. If you ask for help in any way, or understanding, or direction, it's in, as the word is coming, you ask it, even if it's in your head and you're asking. You have such an incredible team to help you with all of this. If you truly, truly, truly want awakening, you just ask, and the awakening is yours.
Yeah.
How you want to do it is up to you. If you have a system, if you light a candle, that's for you. All those systems that you've set up to help you get into that space, that's for you. However you want to do it, it varies. You don't have to follow this or follow that. It's up to you how it works for you individual. All you have to do is ask. You have an incredible team to bring in awareness, awakeness, understanding, love, healing, wholeness. It's all there for you. Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Do you have any questions for any of the people here at the any of these people filling
I
up?
don't have any questions. I have enormous gratitude, really.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm
That's
very grateful that they came in and
yes.
that they shared those perspectives. I keep thinking about, I don't know why Ruth keeps coming in, but she keeps coming into my head.
Who?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, Ruth. Oh, well, here she is, right? It's so funny because I put her right here. She's totally been watching this whole thing.
Oh, she's also right behind you.
Oh. I forgot she's a magnet.
Magnet, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hang her. Not hang her, you guys. I'm gonna, there she, oh, right here on my mic. How great is that? Thank you, Ruth. That is so awesome. Yeah, so Ruth is here. But Ruth, let's see if we can ask Ruth to come in. Interesting. Okay, so she's very she's coming in a revered, you know, I know that we're all equal, we're all one, but they're bringing her in as revered in regards to this, what we've been talking about in this whole thing. So in this crowd, they're bringing her in a revered type of position, you know, like that. But you know, we're all equal. But in this situation, in regards to this situation. So let's see if she has anything she wants to add to this. It seems that within the Justice Department, there's some deep sadness current. I don't know if it's not quite, I want to say disappointment. Okay, so I'm just using my words. The brokenness that I'm seeing or that I'm feeling in regards to how she's viewing some of the people in the Justice Department, it's like it's coming to the surface.
What's it?
So the brokenness will be coming to the surface soon, she says. But she has a lot of so yes, so I guess that's some of the emotions I'm feeling. There's going to be a lot of, there's swirling around, but there's something's going to be coming to the surface soon, she says, in regards to the Justice and the Justice Department. I feel like Justice Department, the justices or whatever, the Supreme Court.
Department of Justice. Well, about this, she's talking about the Supreme Court or the Department of Justice, or both.
Oh, well, both. Okay, so she's moving over to the Supreme Court now.
Mhm.
So the justices that sit on the Supreme Court, that there's something coming to the surface there. That's what she's talking about. I'm getting it. I'm getting the words wrong. I'm getting the words wrong. Okay, so the system, okay, from what I understand that I'm being shown here, is the way that justices are put in position is broken. And I don't have context for this, but it's broken. And so you have people sitting in there that had no right to be sitting there.
Mhm. Right.
And that is coming to the surface.
Mhm.
It's the beginning of change
Mhm.
for the better.
It's
A
gonna take-
stronger court. A real court for the people. Currently, it is not a full court for the people.
Right.
But that change is coming soon, she says. So
Did you say what soon might be? Will I still be here? It was that kind of soon.
I'm seeing in the next decade, you're going to see the shifting, the moving and shaking and shifting happening. You know, so it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
A shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are one, she says. Continue to put that intention out every day. We are one. We are one. She says it's amazing what thoughts, even just a thought, can do in the ripple effect globally.
Mhm.
She says, know your thoughts and intentionally put out, we are one, and love.
We just came full circle, you know.
Oh,
We started with Harvey saying coming out.
oh, okay.
Ended with her saying come out in a bigger way. We are one.
We are one. Yeah. Wow.
Maybe I had this image of me hanging a banner across the front of the house that just says we are one.
We are one.
And they can't make me take it down, but you know.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. Okay. Okay, yeah. I love that. Be intentional about your thoughts, even. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Right. And we say it all the time. It's hard to do. It's not easy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you've made your sort of slogans, lead with love. You know, I'm just putting together a conflict management course, and I was so reminded of this one student last year who said, somebody comes at me, I'm going to hit him even harder. And I looked at her and I said, and when will it stop? How will it stop if you keep going?
Wow.
She just looked at me and she went, what? And I said, What makes it stop?
What makes it stop?
And that's what nonviolent activists have known forever. You know, it's what Gandhi was doing with what he was doing. You know, he said, you know, we're going to sit down, we're going to sit in front of this salt mines, and the media is going to cover it, and they're going to beat us. The police are going to beat us, the soldiers, and everybody's going to learn what the soldiers are about. And we're going to get hurt, but we're not going to keep it going. We're not going to battle back, that sort of stuff. And that's, of course, what Martin Luther King borrowed, and what a lot of activists, Gwobi in was it Nigeria or Libya? Yeah, I mean, they've all done it. You know, it's that version of take a stand. You don't need to be contrary. You just need to say, I believe, I am okay. I believe I belong here. And I used to say this to my mom. One morning I got up. This wasn't very long ago. I was staying at my sister's house, and I got up and I walked up to her in the morning and I said, you know, Mom, she said, what? And I said, God doesn't make mistakes. And she couldn't answer me. She couldn't say anything. She just looked at me and was like, there you go. God doesn't make mistakes. And how you understand God is the real issue. We are one.
We are one.
With all of
them. All right. Well, thank you, Chrys, for this.
What do you think of me for?
For this amazing conversation.
The work. Yeah, this was incredible.
And thank you for everybody that came in. I had no idea it was gonna. That's what's so great about conversation. You just never know where it's gonna go, do you?
I think that's what's important about what I said earlier about, you know, instead of it just being a question that you answer quickly, you know, we got to process it for a while. And, you know, and then other people process it. And what did she just say? You know, what did Louisa Alcott say? Tell your stories. Keep talking. Come out. We are one. Come out.
And don't, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you for being here with us today. And just as you move forward with your day, night, wherever you are in the day, after watching this, be free to love one another and recognize other people's stories as well. Anyways, blessings to you all, and we will see you next time.
Love you.
Love you.